America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Do you feel beautiful? Do you look beautiful? Does one really affect the other? Welcome to Beauty Inside and Out with host Bonnie Bonadeo. In our show, we'll help you uncover your true self and unleash beauty that you never knew existed in order to be at your best, both inside and out. Now, here is your host, Bonnie Bonadeo.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beauty Inside and Out. All right. Have you ever heard that expression, you need to get uncomfortable to grow? Well, I'm going to rebuke that because I don't think that's the case. What I think is the truth is that we're already uncomfortable and we need to figure out ways to get more comfortable with who we are and what we're about in order to really shine, grow, prosper, or maybe just even find peace and happiness in our lives. Today and all month long, we have been in Relationship Month, and we're going to be talking about the beautiful relationship with you. And this beautiful relationship with you is looking at where you're uncomfortable and trying to get comfortable with who you are. Now, I know as we get older and we age, we always say, oh, I'm getting so much more comfortable in my own skin. It's because we've evolved, we've transformed, we've healed, we've let go of things that have previously made it difficult for us to feel supported or to get unstuck. And earlier in the month, as we were talking about relationships, our first show of the month was on a loving relationship. And so if you are single and you don't want to be single going into the new year, then you're going to want to go back and listen to my show on 12/6/18. And that was with author and coach Patricia Fuqua from Dating Diamonds. And she has a really great free offer on there that you can find on my website. And that is bonniebonadeo.com/radio-host. And click on her tile. Go down to the bottom of the page where it says free gifts and click on her tile because she's offering a free consultation to be able to help you find that loving relationship going into the new year. Then last week we talked about our relationship with money, and that was with author and coach Marlene Elizabeth, and just how funny we really are with and about money. And you can listen to that show, and I would recommend it. It'd be a great thing for you to do going into the new year. You can listen to that show. Again, it was 12/13/18 show. And any of these shows that you can listen to, you can go to beautyinsideandoutshow.com. And she has a free download, a free chapter that you can download as well from her book called Money Wings. And what was really interesting about that conversation was we talked about different money archetypes. And, you know, a lot of times we do these tests, these personality tests, and we determine what we're great at. What was really interesting about the time that I spent coaching with Marlene was, yes, I have the warrior magician archetype in money, which is really good. It means that you have the ability to manifest money all the time. But the interesting part was, and I'm going to have to redo my microphone here because apparently something's going on. The interesting about this particular thing was we looked at the archetypes that were my weakest because those are the ones that kind of stop me and keep me stuck. And those ones were like victims. So the book is called Money Wings, and I think it'll be a really interesting fix here. So give me 2 seconds, you guys. I'm just going to
I have you muted on my end, so you're good. But yeah, for whatever reason, you just sound a lot more deeper in your voice. And now I can't hear you now, so make sure the microphone on Skype knows you're back. Or on a Zoom, make sure the microphone at the bottom left knows you're back on. Can't hear you yet. I see you're talking, but I can't hear you. You're fine. Still muted, or I can't hear you anywhere. Nope. I see your lips moving, but I can't hear you. You unplugged it and you plugged it back in. There should be a light that shows that it's back on. Make sure nothing's muted.
Testing.
Yep. Much better. There you are. That's your actual voice.
Oh,
right.
Yay. All right. So a little difficulties today here,
Yep.
but we're good.
I'll bring you back up in 4, 3, 2.
Hey, everybody. Sorry about that. That was a little bit of a technical difficulty with my microphone. So we're back. I think this is actually my voice. I had another persona. My twin showed up as my voice here about this. So I'm just going to go back a little bit because I just want to reference last week's show on our relationship with money. And we were talking with Marlene Elizabeth, and it was all about your money archetype, how you manifest money, and how you support that manifestation of money. And it's not always the strength of the archetype that you have. Sometimes it's the weaknesses that prevent you from having the ability to bring or manifest money into your life. So a really good read, Money Wings. You can download a free chapter on my website. Again, go to bonniebonadeo.com. You're going to go to /radio-host, go all the way down to the bottom of the page where it says free gifts. Click on that and you'll see the icon for the tile for Money Wings. All right, now, next week, we are going to be finishing out the year with the relationship with your health. And we're going to be talking about diets and loving your body. And this is from author and coach Felicia Stoller. And she's very bright in regards to that balanced approach to things, like do it, but just trust that, you can't keep doing that same thing and have the results that you want to feel healthy. So she has some great topics. We talked about all different kinds of diets, including the keto diet, and why that may work to lose some weight, but it may not be a healthy diet necessarily for long term for most of us. And it certainly is not going to be my choice of diets going into this week because I plan on eating 1,000 Christmas cookies. My mother makes the most amazing Christmas cookies, and I plan to eat them. And then on the 27th, I'm actually going to be listening to my show as well because it's a pre-record that I did since I'm going to be traveling that day. I'm going to be listening to it again when I get home because I have to figure out how to get back on track for a healthy new year. Why? Because I am actually going to be putting a bikini on and going on a warm holiday vacation right at the new year. So whether I should be putting a bikini on or not at this point in my life, I don't care. I want to be in the sun. I want to be warm. And I always think that onesies, one-piece bathing suits are always riding up, and I don't want anything riding up. I just want to enjoy my vacation. All right. So let's look at whether you are maybe wanting a loving relationship. Maybe you want more money going into the next year. Maybe you want better health. Maybe you have all of those things. But something is still keeping you stuck from having that joy or that life that you really love. And it might be that you are uncomfortable. And I'm not going to suggest that you stay uncomfortable. I'm going to suggest that you find ways to get comfortable. And it starts, of course, because we're in this place of discomfort. And discomfort should be telling us that something's not right. It should be telling us that we need to change. And part of that process then is to be able to determine, what do I need to do to get more comfortable with this situation, with me, with my past, with this relationship, with money, with my children, with my significant other, whatever that looks like. There's got to be something that you can do to feel more comfortable in doing that. Because every day I think that we are fearful of finding love, getting out of a relationship, trying to find a relationship, supporting our family, supporting our aging parents, money that is going to be required to get our kids into college, or just making more money for ourselves so that we can go on those fantastic warm holiday vacations. And for ourselves, it's really about trying to find those ways to enjoy life instead of fighting life. And we're really, really good at resisting. As human beings, we're great at resisting. Now, on January 21st, I am going to be doing a workshop. It's going to be an online workshop, and all of you, of course, I want you to attend. And I promise to provide you the link on my Facebook page, and you'll see it you'll see it blasted all over my social medias, but I'm not going to have that link ready for another few days. And it's going to help to overcome your number 1 and number 2 fears. Now, I planned this program kind of specifically for my target audience, which is entrepreneurs, small business entrepreneurs, but it applies to everybody. Okay. This topic is going to apply to everybody. So what are those number 1 and number 2 fears? Well, speaking in public. And number 2 is speaking in public about yourself. Okay. A lot of people think because I do a radio show and I'm a speaker and a coach and all of these things that I don't have any fears in doing this. And I absolutely have fears in doing all of this. It may be less of a fear than somebody that doesn't have the same level of experience that I've been able to gain over the years. And I have, there's a part of me that truly enjoys this process. So my goal is to always try to get better in enjoying this process. And I want you to think about where in your life are you uncomfortable in talking in public. And let me define that. Talking in public is not in front of 100 or 1,000 people in times. Sometimes talking in public is 1 or 2 people. It could be you're a leader in an organization and you have to have one-on-one conversations with your staff. And maybe not all of those conversations are glorious. Maybe some of them are difficult or challenging conversations for you to be able to have. And the second part in being able to talk about yourself, we don't usually want to talk about what we don't want people to know about us. And that makes a very interesting disconnect with most of us all the time. Some people are really good storytellers. Some people are great at being able to share what's going on in their lives in a very natural and authentic way. And then there's a good portion of us that are deathly afraid to be able to kind of open that box, that Pandora's box, and expose ourselves in such a vulnerable way. Because the truth is we don't want people to know what we're afraid of. We don't want people to know what's happened in our past or what our experiences are that are, having us not feel good about ourselves. So be sure to look for the post, but I'm going to share it on my January 3rd show. So join me on January 3rd. I'm going to be doing a New Year show. And that will be my next live show starting out the new year. And I'll share the link to this workshop at that time. Okay, so then let's ask the question, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid to really share yourself? Do you withhold yourself from being able to share? Like I said, I'm a radio host, a podcaster, and a speaker, and my fears are very different. But here's the thing. Most of the time on my show, I'm interviewing people, and interviewing people is a lot easier than exposing yourself personally and to an unknown audience, and where you're staring at yourself on a computer screen. It can be quite uncomfortable doing that. And one of the things that I discovered, though, was that the more that I share about myself, the more I can create storytelling opportunities about my life, the more that I connect with other people, and the more accessible and comfortable I feel with others. And that's going to be a big part of this workshop that's coming on January 21st. Again, it's online, is to be able to help you develop that story part of yourself so that you can be more comfortable having those conversations. Because I promise you, if you're single and you don't want to be and you're having a hard time finding a relationship, you need to work on the communication skills in order to express yourself and in order to be able to share yourself with that. So we all have a story. My story is unique to me. But I have heard that my story is very similar to others along the way. And the only reason why I can say that is because I've been vulnerable enough to share my story with other people that have come up to me and thanked me for that. And in thanking me for that, they shared their story. And I realized, wow, your story is very similar to mine. And maybe you've heard this meme, if you want a better life, get a new story. But it's somewhat counterintuitive to just say, tell a new story. Sometimes what might need to happen is tell your story. Tell your story. And by telling your story, you're actually releasing it and healing from it and providing yourself the opportunity to get connected to that. We're going to talk a little bit about intuitiveness in our last segment as well. So what's healthy is to share your story, to share your hardships, to be able to connect yourself to your real life, not this fantasy life, but your real life. The one story that you're not willing to share, I'm going to challenge you to find a platform or a format to share it. Share it anyway, because that's what's going to set you free. And that's what's going to actually allow you to own the life that you have. You see, your story is not going to change. Your story is your past. It's who you are up to this point. It's what happened. It's the circumstances you experienced up to this point. So that part of the story is not going to change. But if you share and release that story, it gives you the opportunity to discover more about who you are from your past. Find that innate strength that came out of it. And you'll realize the depth and the impact that your life has on others. And I'll share a little bit more of these segments too when we come back here. But we're going to go beyond inside and out today. We're going to go inside. We're going to talk about physical things on the outside. But ultimately, what we're going to do is we're going to try to reach that point where if you want that beautiful relationship with you, you have to connect with you. And that's a very intuitive approach under the term of transformation. So if you want to hear more about this transformation part, stay with me. And I'm also going to be reading one of the chapters out of my newly launched book this month. So you'll hear more about that. But this show is, because I don't have a guest on it today, the guest is you. You're my guest. So I want you to participate with me. Join me on Facebook at Bonadeo right now and pop up some information that's going to help me to better understand who you are in this whole thing. All right, we'll be right back. Hey everybody, I am still here. If you are joining me on Facebook, I don't know. My computer kind of wigged out on me a little bit here, so I'm not sure if you're actually with me. I'm going to try.
I'm here.
Are you here? Can you see me on Facebook? I don't think I'm on Facebook.
No, you're not on Facebook. You just recorded the Zoom.
Okay, I'm going to try and go on Facebook now.
The FaceTime halftime show.
Yeah. Going live on Facebook now. It's working. Here we go. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on Facebook. Sorry, had a little technical difficulties, so we didn't get the first segment launched on here, but we're talking about the beautiful relationship with you. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper, not only from beauty from the inside, but beauty on the outside as well, and what's stopping you from having the life that you love, and how to be able to really connect with yourself. And this whole month, we're talking about relationships. And we talked about a loving relationship the first week. We talked about the money relationship. Today, we're going to be talking about the relationship with you. And we're going to close out the month with your relationship with health. So I'm glad you've been joining us all month long. And we're getting ready to come back live on audio. So stand by with me.
You are listening to Beauty Inside and Out with Bonadeo. If you have a question or comment about our show, please send an email to Bonnie at BonnieBonadeo.com. That's Bonnie at BonnieBonadeo.com. Now back to Beauty Inside and Out.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. We are in Relationship Month, and we're talking about the beautiful relationship with you. And as I shared in the very first part in our first segment that didn't actually get put on Facebook Live, I've heard this said many times where it's like, you have to get uncomfortable to grow and prosper. And I'm going to disagree with that, because here's why. I think we're already uncomfortable, and we need to find ways. We need to find resources. We need to find the people and the plans and the programs that are going to help us to get more comfortable with ourselves so that we can have those better relationships with others, with money, at work, in our businesses, with our clients. All of that is going to be relevant if we have a better relationship with ourselves. And it's not about getting uncomfortable anymore. It's letting go of some of the fears that might be stopping us from really, truly being comfortable in our own skin. And that's kind of the beauty and the inside and out approach here. All right. So I shared a little bit about how your story is a big factor in discovering who you are. And if you've ever taken the time to deep dive into your life and your story, you're going to discover that there's two things here. One is there is the story that you have experienced. And two is the story that you added dialogue to, or you gave meaning to. And that's the emotional attachment that you still have with it. So if you had some hardship or some tragedy that happened in your life, you've healed over time that particular thing has happened. But where you haven't healed maybe is sometimes with the emotional side of it. Now, I didn't share my full story, but you have the opportunity to be able to hear my entire story in 11-minute version, of course, if you go to my website. So if you go to my website, bonniebonadeo.com/speaking-page, at the bottom there, just click on the video that's on that page, and you will be able to hear my story. And although my story is my story, I hid it for a long time, and I didn't realize the impact that it had that seemed so unrelated to other issues I was having in my life. And here's some of the highlights of that. So my folks have been married for 60 years at this point, and I ended up getting married young, because here's what it looked like. I was in this family unit where they got married young, and I was mimicking my environment. Now, was it too young? Yes, of course it was. Was it the right person? No, don't think it was the right person. And so I ended up divorced at a very young age, and I tried it again. And this time I chose the polar opposite of what I was with the first time, thinking, well, that's got to be the right person for me. And again, it may have not been the right time, may have not been the right person in there. And I wanted to blame them, and I wanted to blame others, and they were good people. But I knew that my failures I was the culprit in it. I was the common denominator in it. And I really had to look at me and why I was struggling with some of these relationships that I was having. And of course, it goes back to my story. It always goes back to that story that is unresolved or unhealed. Now, let's transfer over to money, because we talked a little bit about money in the first segment as well. Money always came easy to me. I was excited to get to work as soon as I possibly could. I was excited about making money. I had a very strong work ethic, and I played this little game and had these challenges of I wanted to make more money than I was by age each and every year. Well, I surpassed that when I hit my 30s and ended up with a 6-figure income. And I thought, well, that game's going to have to end. And I always thought at that point that money would come to me very easily and I would manifest it. And I wouldn't have to be so challenged by it. And I then, discovered that was not the case, because the economy crashed. In our beautiful, what year was that, 2008? And I had just started my business as an entrepreneur. And I had some real estate. And I was in Phoenix, Arizona. And all of those things were big fat negatives against me. And I realized how difficult it was to struggle. And I had my house sold out from underneath me by the bank. And I was homeless, 2 weeks before Christmas as a single mom. And my business that I was going to be running off of my extended amount of credit that I had, because I had very good credit at that time, all went to zero. And now I was running my business as a sole cash business with no money to make additional investments with. And I felt like a failure. I felt like a big fat failure. How could this happen to me? And again, I wanted to blame everybody. I wanted to just blame all of these things on others and realize that, you know what, it's just part of my circumstances, part of my life, and it's going to be part of my story. And I knew one thing was that I was incredibly resilient. But I also knew another thing, is that I needed a little help beyond what I'd ever had up to this point. And not the kind of help that you get from friends. You know, friends would have like put their hands out and opened their doors for me and loaned me money. Any of those things would have happened from my friends, and certainly from my family as well. But I needed help beyond friend and family approach. And it couldn't be therapy, because even the little bit of therapy that I did, I found myself trying to make myself look good to the therapist, you know, like I'm not crazy. So, you know, I continued to keep making myself look good to the therapist. And I thought, well, that's not very authentic. That's a bit of a failure right there. And so I took on getting a coach or coaches. So, and I have had many over the years. And each coach brought me to a new level of understanding about myself. Not about my business. Yes, we talked about my business. We talked about money. We talked about things I needed to do in order to be more successful. Yes, all of those were conversations in the coaching. But the most important part of what I considered to be the coaching process was I got to know me. I got to really see my patterns. I got to see where I get stuck. And I had somebody that helped me out of that dark hole when I did get stuck. And it allowed me to look at my level of resilience, and it allowed me to have new resources available to me because I was starting to get to know me. And what I discovered is that my greatest flaws are sometimes my greatest opportunities to be able to grow and be a better person. And a more successful person. Because again, we all have a story. And the hardship that came out of my story, again, that you can listen to on my Facebook page, because I'm not going to spend any time repeating it here. The hardship that came out ended up being my greatest gift. The hardship of wanting to disconnect from people, wanting to not have relationships with people, not have relationships with men, or having failed relationships with men. I discovered all of those things were actually part of my gift of me wanting nothing more than to connect. But I was afraid to connect because I was afraid of getting hurt again. I was afraid something bad was going to happen. I was putting on my armor and walking around like there was nothing wrong with me. And I became a coach because of the level of transformation that I experienced from all the coaches that I worked with. So I want to thank all of my coaches that are out there. You know who you are. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for all the growth. Thank you for your patience in allowing me to be able to get to this place that I can have a beautiful relationship with me. And that's what I want for all of you. I want all of you to have a beautiful relationship with you. So if my pain is a gift, how do I overcome the pain? Well, you heal it. That's ultimately what you do. You heal things that are painful to you. And if you don't heal it, it's going to manifest into something like divorce, disease, lack of success, failure, money issues, family issues, you name it. If you don't heal the things that are preventing you from being really present with yourself, it's going to show up. And we're going to talk about some of those ways that it's going to show up. But let me first read a chapter from my book that is an international best-selling book. I'm a 4-time international best-selling author at this point, and I'm shocked by that because although I've always loved to write, I had no idea that I would have these opportunities to be able to collaborate and write in books and then have them sold and have them be #1 bestsellers. So yeah, so, you know, thanks you guys for joining me here. David, thank you for joining me. Really appreciate you guys joining me every week. All right, so I have 2 books that are actually being released at the same time. I had no idea that they were both going to kind of end up being within the same couple of weeks of each other. So the first one is called Empowering You, Transforming Lives. And it is, of course, on Amazon. You can get the Kindle version for like $5.99 right now. And the paperback just came out. And it's $19.99. In January, I'll have my own copies. If you want to wait till then and you'd like to order direct from me, I would be happy to do business with you, and thank you for that kind of support. Otherwise, we all know that Amazon is an easy way to get it. Now, this is a big book because it's a 365-day daily inspiration book, and this daily inspiration means that the book is like 400 and some odd pages. So it's a meaty book. And it's a beautiful book. The second book that just launched is called The Power of 50. And by the way, it is free today if you want to download the Kindle version on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and you do The Power of 50, it is a free download today. And that is another story. It's a very current story for me. And I look forward, I'm going to read some of that to you on January 3rd. And I'll have books available then as well. The paperback will be shortly coming. I'm going to post the links to both of these books up on Facebook when we get to a break here. But I want to read you January's version first. Okay. Sometimes to change a situation you're in requires you to do a giant leap, but you won't be able to fly unless you're willing to transform. And I really believe that transformation is the best way for us to find that connect back to you. Now, that quote was by Susie Kasem, so I want to give her credit for that. All right. The new year is an opportunity to restart. It offers a chance for a do-over, a reboot, a clean slate. The process in which one year ends and another begins is nothing more than one day ending and another day beginning. We love to celebrate the new year with toasts, resolutions, and kisses at midnight. But do we also love to celebrate our past year's accomplishments and successes? As humans, we're changing every day, and researchers believe that we renew ourselves approximately every 7 years through cellular rejuvenation. And many of these changes go unnoticed, like our hair falling out 100 strands per day to make room for new growth. And our skin regenerates every 27 days. Still, there's one part of us that does not renew as automatically as we would like, and that's our thoughts. This includes how we think about ourselves, our lives, and our accomplishments, as well as our beliefs. Therefore, it's important to acknowledge at least 3 successes that you've had this last year, right now, 2018, and feel gratitude for those successes. Recall the feelings you had when you accomplished those things and try to regenerate that feeling that you had. And then today and for all of 2019, while our bodies are going through the natural transformation that they do, be consciously aware of that state of transformation that your thoughts must go through as well, the conscious ones and the subconscious ones. And let your thoughts transform you as you progress into the new year. There. That was a January version of the book Empowering You and Transforming Lives. Okay, so transformation is a choice. And let's chat about the transformation process here. Now, if you have something going on in your life and you haven't healed it, it is absolutely positively going to create some challenges for you. And in order to heal it, we're going to call this the transformation process. You're going to need to grieve it. There has to be a grieving process. And grieving is traditionally, and you've all heard this, I'm sure, before, shock, denial, sadness, anger, and then hope. So shock, denial, sadness, anger, and hope. Now, if you can't get past the grieving process, which I know a lot of people get stuck in it, a lot of people revert from shock, denial, sadness, anger, and then they feel a little bit of hope, but then they question themselves or doubt themselves and fall back into denial, sadness, anger, sadness, denial. And that whole process seems to be going on for a really long time. And for those people that have had some, severe tragedies and circumstances happen in their life, it can be hard sometimes to just get out of the grieving process, but that's only one part of the transformational process that actually happens for us. So grieve in a healthy way. If you understand the grief cycle of how it happens, you can then put a measuring stick up against it to be able to determine what's happening here. All right, the second one is forgiveness. And there's two kinds of forgiveness. There's ordinary forgiveness, like, oh yeah, it doesn't bother me anymore. And then there's radical forgiveness. I have to wholly support the fact that this did happen, and I'm willing to forgive not only others, but myself for this situation happening. The third is acceptance. And of course, you can never accept anything until you've fully forgiven it. So you might kind of fall into this forgiveness acceptance pattern as well. The fourth is surrender. And I'm not talking about give up, the white flag, forget it, I'm done, I'm over it. Or when people say, get over it, that's like the worst thing you can say to somebody. So let's stop saying that to other people, because unless they've grieved something formally and properly, there's no getting over it. They have to get through it, not just get over it. But the surrender is really the ability to be able to accept, forgive, and allow what's happened to you to just be a part of your existence, and stop denying it or being angry by it or being sad by it, but to just kind of surrender that it has power over you, and that surrendering gives you the power to get through it. And when you surrender properly, you get to ownership. And ownership is clearly that really unique space of there's nothing to forgive to begin with. When you can get to ownership of what's happened in your life or what happened to you in your life, ownership says there's nothing to forgive. There's nothing left to do. So let's go back through that again before we take our next break. There's the grief cycle: shock, denial, sadness, anger, and hope. Once you get through that, you can get to forgiveness. Get to the forgiveness where you're truly radically forgiving. Allow acceptance to enter into your life. Surrender the pain and the process and the emotional part of what has happened to you to get to ownership. And at that point, then you will have let things go, and you'll be in a state of transformation. In other words, whatever that was can't bother you the same way that it may have in the past, because you've transformed from it. It's like the caterpillar going into the cocoon, coming out the butterfly. He can't make himself a caterpillar anymore. He's now the butterfly. That's the perfect example of that kind of transformation. You can't go back to letting it hold you down. Now, there's certain layers could come up for you as you progress, but the truth is that there's that transformation that takes place for you. All right. So I want you to think about that on the break. I want you to think about, in those 5 areas: grief, forgiveness, acceptance, surrender, ownership. Where are you at? There's something in your life that might be holding you back. Is there one of those areas that resonates with you as to where it's holding you at this point? If you're following me on Facebook Live right now, jump on and add where you're at in one of those categories. And let's hear. Again, you're going to be sharing your story, and you're going to be healing. So, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the physical pains that are manifested from internal opportunities, and vice versa in that. So we're going to take a break. Join me on Facebook, Bonnie Bonadeo, and I look forward to sharing the rest of this show with you when we come back. Hi, everybody. All right. Oh, Gerard, thank you for joining us. I love that you joined me all the way from France. Thank you so much. I hope you all have happy holidays. I'm excited about the holidays coming up. I'm sure you are too. I'm excited to be able to share this show with you today as well, because I want everybody to have a fabulous and fantastic new year. And I have so many amazing things going that are going to be happening in 2019. And I know for a fact that all of these wonderful things that I've had already pre-planned on my calendar and within my life are true remnants of me going through the transformation process and allowing all of these things to be able to kind of to let go of those things that are holding me back and keeping me stuck, and to allow the good things to be able to show up and be intuitive enough to be able to manage that process in there. So thanks for joining me. Let me know what's going on. I want to hear if anybody's in any one of these processes: grief, forgiveness, acceptance, surrender, ownership. Let me know.
Got 20 seconds here and we'll be back.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, I see some people are trying to comment here. They're typing up, so please feel free to comment on that. Where are you at? What do you need to do in order to find that beautiful relationship with you and connect back with you? And my shows always turn into a podcast the next day, and you can re-listen to them at beautyinsideandoutshow.com.
Here we go.
You are listening to Beauty Inside and Out with Bonnie Bonadeo. If you have a question or comment about our show, please send an email to Bonnie at bonniebonadeo.com. That's Bonnie at bonniebonadeo.com. Now back to Beauty Inside and Out.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. We are talking about the beautiful relationship with you and how to be able to have that prosper you into the new year, and to be able to have the life that you love. And I'm not just talking about the business life. I'm talking about the life that you want and that you want to love. So if you are in a bad relationship with yourself, you can't be in a good relationship with anybody else. And of course, that is going to affect your personal life, your business life, and every part of your life in between. So we have to be able to figure out how to be able to have the ultimate life. And we say that how you get that is through a form of transformation. Now, some people can have something happen to them and have that transformation happen. And it's usually some hardship that happens, and then they kind of evolve out of it. Other people have gone through coaching systems like I have. Other people coach with me to be able to have that transformation that they're looking for. And I always say that the coaching process, when you have somebody that's kind of partnering with you to be able to support you in having that better life, it makes it so much more easeful. So here was the transformation process again that we shared in our second segment: grief, forgiveness, acceptance, surrender, and ownership. And look and see maybe if there's something going on in your life, if there's an area that maybe one of those is what's standing out and that you need to kind of work more or heal more in order to get through it to have that final transformation. Now, we all know that everything on the physical plane is a manifestation of something in the metaphysical plane. And I want to thank Gloria Coppola, my good and dear sweet friend that posted this on Facebook. So I'll also put the link for this if you want to read the entire article. It's pretty fascinating. And you know, when we speak about abundance, we're really talking about abundance that is categorized in emotional, mental, and spiritual energy, because at this point, everything's energy. So being in a healthy relationship is energy. Manifesting money is energy. Having a good relationship with yourself is energy. And then, of course, next week when we talk about health, again, it's still all energy. And so we're going to look at some of these areas on the physical plane, which I found to be fascinating. So it's different parts of your body. If you have any of these ailments that are going on, look at maybe why or where this is happening. So we're going to start at the very top in your head. If you're somebody that has a lot of headaches, it means that you are potentially separating from something. And it could be separation out of fear. And Louise Hayes suggests that headaches are an indication of invalidating yourself. So disconnecting with yourself. There's a big part of Chinese medicine too in regards to migraines as well, that when you have a migraine, you are disconnecting from your environment or society. And usually if somebody has a migraine, they want nothing to do with their environment or society because they're in so much pain. Now, there's different parts of the head that we're going to talk about here. So there's the top of the head, which is the connection with the universe. And what that might be associating with is a higher power, feeling stuck in that type of thing. The forehead is associated with the third eye chakra. And that could be you're not listening to yourself or your intuition, your inner being. You're denying that internal voice that might be happening. The temporal, the sides of this is associated with courage. And courage is always a very emotional and fearful step for us to take, to be courageously getting to that next point. So courage in the face of the world. So what's pending right now that you feel as though you might need to change in your life in order to make a larger and more courageous step with that. And then, of course, the back of the head, the occipital area, has something to do with your past. So if your headaches are kind of coming from the back, you might want to look behind you in your past and see what's kind of keeping you stuck there and creating this type of pain. All right, we're moving down the body to the back. We're going to talk about the spine. The spine kind of represents the support that you have in your life. And if you have pain in your spine, there's a misalignment with something in your life. And you might want to just do some further research on that. Shoulders kind of represents burdens and responsibilities. Are you playing the martyr? Are you playing the victim? Are you overly protective of those people within your life that you're taking on too much and then you're getting shoulder pain in there? And then, of course, the mid-back is what they consider to be a blind spot. So from the shoulders to the lower back is that mid-back. And it's a blind spot because not only can we not get to it as human beings, but what we can't see is that a lot of our organs are kind of placed in that part of our body. So from the front to the back, our liver, our stomach, our spleen. And when you have a blind spot, it means that you may have somebody that's a saboteur. And it might be yourself, of course, but you might not be paying attention or being aware of something that's going on. And a lot of times the emotion that's attached to that mid-back is anger, worry, overthinking. And then, of course, there's the lower back, and the lower back represents support, financial support, emotional support of family and friends, support of your God or your universe. And of course, the kidneys are located there. And remember that the kidneys and the adrenal glands are down there in that lower part of the back. And so when you are highly stressed, of course, they release the cortisol, the fight-flight hormone, and then that cycle of fear will continue if you don't cleanse, rinse, or breathe. Really, I think that becomes breathing. The lower back is about really being able to create breath all the way down. All right, we're moving to the bottom half of the body, legs and your hips. Your hips represent decisions in life. So if you're having hip issues and you're afraid to move forward, the very thing that you need to do is to move forward. So don't be stuck in that, but to create opportunities where you're walking more, walking physically and walking in faith. And that will support that courage and confidence that you need. The upper thighs are the link between hips and decisions, knees and pride. So very often we've made decisions to get to the next step, and the upper thighs, being the largest muscles of our body, will support us in many ways. However, if you don't feel as though you're getting the kind of support that you're giving yourself or that you need from others, your knees, representing pride, might pose some problems for you. And it's a spiritual practice that is suggested that you must go down before you can rise up. And your knees are the one area of your body that really has to support you to go down and then to be able to come back up. All right. Shins. It's all bone, and it's one of the strongest bones that we have, but it can also represent one of the weakest areas. So when you hit your shin, it usually takes you down. If somebody hit you in the shins, it's very, very painful. And even though it's a sensitive and brittle area, it can weaken you. So it's kind of considered the weak link. So if you have pain in your shins, maybe there's something that you haven't properly grieved for. And although it is a strong bone, it's the weak one when it's not healthy. So worry, anger, fear, channeling from above and coming down the energy might end up in your shins. And then, of course, ankles represents flexibility, which is very important to navigate in there. And then your feet represent connection to Mother Earth and your actual mother. So if you're having a lot of pain in your feet, you might be having some issues with your mother. Your throat is your ability to communicate, and your chest and breast is that feminine principle of nurturing. And for men that are having chest pains, it could be a disconnect from that feminine energy that they might be avoiding or disconnecting from. Your stomach, of course, represents digestion. And in all things, it's about accepting change, because everything is going to go through the digestive process that we put on and through our body. And so if you're don't have good digestion, you might have wellness issues that you're dealing with, stress issues, certainly, that you're dealing with in there. So if you want this particular article, you can I'll put the link on the Facebook page so that you can find it in here. All right. Now, my life is good right now. I've found this level of transformation. I do a measurement of my body up and down, top to bottom. And at this point where I'm at right now is I'm at this beautiful place in my life. I'm engaged to the right man at the right time. My son is in his second year of college. I had no idea how we were going to pay for this. We're managing it. We're paying for his college. My family is healthy and happy as can be. And my life as a solo entrepreneur, my work is speaking, coaching, hosting, podcasting, being a 4-time best-selling author. I mean, these are amazing things. And all of this is because I've done the work for myself to be able to uncover my story. And my story represents who I am, my essence of who I am. And my essence of who I am and how I put it out there is based on my brand. And my brand is to connect. And when I'm not connecting, I'm not happy. When I'm not connecting, I'm stressed. When I'm not connecting, I'm not being me. I don't have that relationship with me if I'm not connecting. Now, yes, of course, there are times that I need to be, just shut down a little bit, but I know how to do that. Ultimately, I want to be connecting because that's what my brand is. And that's what sets me free, is to be able to be the connecting. So here's the call to action I want you guys to take today in order to have the most beautiful life. Today only, you can go online or to Amazon.com and you can download the free The Power of 50 book that I have co-authored with seven other beautiful people. So I want you to do that. That's free. So do it. It's a freebie. Or I want you to buy the Empowering You, Transforming Lives book. It's a 365-day one, so it's a beautiful book. I want you to join me on January 3rd and listen to my show at that time, because I'm going to be uncovering the link for the workshop that's going to be how to be able to overcome that number 1, number 2 fear, speaking about yourself. And if you are propelled to jump on and be in a coaching capacity with me, you can do that by going to connectwithbonnie.com. Connectwithbonnie.com. And it will set you right up in my calendar for a complimentary session to be able to see if we're a good fit together. And this is something that you want to do, because I know it's transformed my life and I want to be able to transform yours. And finally, if you are struggling this time of year, and you can't get to my calendar because I have a lot of time blocked out for my family and holidays, I want you to send me a personal email, because I'm always tapped into my email. And I want you to connect with me and let me know if there's anything that's going on with you that is not okay at this point in time. Send me a message and let me know that you want to connect with me. My brother died this time of year. He committed suicide this time of year. And I know that there's a lot of people that don't feel complete and whole around this time of year. And I want to help you through that. And I don't want another family to have to go through every time of year that, every time this time of year shows up, that we're sad because we lost a member of our family that we didn't know was feeling as bad as he did. And if that's the case, you can email me, Bonnie@BonnieBonadeo.com. Now, don't forget, next week's show is about the beautiful relationship with your health, diets, and loving your body. We're closing out that year, and I want to give special thanks to my family, my loving mom and dad, my sisters, my beautiful son, my amazing fiance, and my sweet little dog, Lily. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. And remember, it's always about being you and beauty.
All clear. Great job. All right, Bonnie.